Welcome everyone to our 10-minute Bible lesson. We really appreciate you joining us today. I think I mentioned last time that we were going to be starting a new series today, and we are. The new series is going to be from the Sermon on the Mount. Now, the Sermon on the Mount is found in the book of Matthew, chapters 5, 6, and 7. And it begins with what many call the Beatitudes. Maybe you've heard that word before. The word beatitude actually means something. It means this. It means a state of utmost bliss. Now that's something, isn't it? Now it also could mean this. It could mean a supreme. It could mean supreme blessedness or great joy. Now the reason they're called the Beatitudes, and here's the reason, is because Jesus begins each one, and I think there's like 9 of them. He begins each one by the statement of saying, "Blessed are." So let's go ahead and take a look in verse 3 of chapter 5 of Matthew and see what Jesus said. You'll see what I mean. So Jesus says this. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Now it's interesting that Jesus' teaching is it's often counter to the way that we think. Does that make sense? At least that's what I found it to be so. Now, Jesus said people are blessed when they're poor in spirit. That's really not what we would say. I think most of us would say, blessed are those who are rich. I think that's kind of something that we might say. It's not what Jesus said. So I don't know if you have caught this before, but everything that Jesus says is true. So if Jesus said, blessed are those that are poor in spirit, and we say, no, blessed are those who are rich, guess who's wrong? If everything that Jesus says is true, then we're the ones that's wrong, and the way that we think is wrong. So I think that's kind of important for us to know. Now, the Beatitudes, at least, when I think about the Beatitudes, they're not that easy to understand. And let me kind of explain. Just like this first one, it's kind of like you kind of scratch your head because Jesus said, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. You go, well, what did Jesus mean by that? Is Jesus saying this? Does Jesus mean this when he's saying the poor? Is he talking about those people that they don't have material wealth? I mean, could that be what Jesus is talking about? They have the absence of material things, and so maybe that's why they're blessed. Or could it mean something else? Could Jesus mean because he says, blessed are the poor in spirit, that perhaps he means something a little different? It could be another kind of poverty. So there's different kinds of poverty, and he may be referring to the poverty of spirit. Now, the Greek word for poverty could also be translated beggar. That's interesting, isn't it? So could Jesus be referring to a spiritual beggar? Just kind of think about that a minute. One who approaches God not in pride or self-righteousness, but in a humble manner and in a lowly manner, and one that sees himself as a beggar in spirit before God. And that's a way to look at it, I think. Now, certainly the way into the kingdom of heaven is not by the way of self-importance. There's not anyone that has entered the kingdom of heaven thinking that they're self-important, that somehow they're really, really important. But we do that by emptying ourselves of all self-righteousness and pride and being poor and needy before God. So I think it's a realization of how much we really need someone to save us. and that's Jesus. So let me just say it again. Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Now let's look at the next verse. That would be verse 4 in Matthew chapter 5. Let's see what else Jesus said. He said, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Now I'm wondering what Jesus was referring to when he was talking about mourning, because there's different kinds of mourning. We could be talking about someone grieving over some great loss. Maybe it was a loss of a loved one. Or it could be this. It could be mourning or grieving over life's hardships and difficulties. You know, life can be hard and it can be difficult. Or it could be doing this. A person could be mourning over living a wasted life. That is to say, a life that was lived in vanity and the fulfillment of self-pleasure. It could even be this, someone mourning about their failures and their mistakes. So there's a lot of way we can grieve and mourn. But here's something I think that is a universal truth, and that is contrition before God is an excellent way back to restoration. It's an excellent way to get restored, and it's an excellent way to get help and to get comfort. Now, Jesus says this. He says, "They shall be comforted." Now, that word comfort in the Greek is the word parakaleo. In fact, parakaleo is two words combined. The first word is para, which actually means near or beside. And kaleo means to call. So the idea is this, in the meaning of comfort, it means to call to one side, to bring near the one that needs to be comforted. And in doing that, they receive comfort. So, if someone is grieving and mourning over a sinful life and comes to Jesus for forgiveness, guess what? When they're mourning and they're grieving about it, guess what Jesus says they're going to receive? They're going to receive comfort. In other words, he's going to bring them near to him and alongside him. Parakaleo, the Greek word is. So surely they'll find comfort. So here's just a couple of the Beatitudes. That is to say this: "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." You can see now where the Beatitudes are meant to bring great joy. Well, listen, next time we're going to be looking at a couple of more of the Beatitudes. We really appreciate you joining us today and hope you have a good week.